Howdy, howdy. The level 78 Reaper quest is called Thicker Than Blood, given to us by Drusilla in the hideout, headquarters, whatever, off of Ul'dah Steps of Thal. Here we go. Glad to see Orcus hasn't sunk his teeth into you yet, Mercy. Don't go thinking he's given up on trying, though. I say something to her. He's out there savoring you from a distance. Can't resist checking in on his prize, just as he can't resist seeking out morsels to tide him over till his feast. The reports we've received of a man pale as death skulking about the sands is proof of that. And then there's the matter of this blunted dagger. We don't know who sent it, but we do know what it means, says Hermine with us. It's a warning commonly used by the less savory elements in Ul'dah. A warning that the next will be delivered sharp and straight to our bellies. More fool them. They've no notion of what we faced and lived, thinking we'd soil our small clothes over empty threats. Let's hope it's nothing more than that, lass, seeing as we need to follow up on those reports sooner than later. Anyone fancy a bit of fresh air? If we catch a whiff of Orcus's foul stench, all the better. Mercy, I want you to ask around near Blackbrush Station, and I'll head to Stone's Throw. When you're done, meet me there and we'll share what we've dug up. Okay. Oh, bother. Again, why? Why Winnie the Pooh? Why is it? I just bit my cheek. Trying to chew on ice. We teleport to Blackbrush Station, which is in Central Thanalan. We talk to this loyal Lemure who is kind of looking up. What is this thing? Some kind of an ore processing place? I don't know. Anyway. I recognize that self-assured stride, the mark of a woman ready to take on the world and then some. You must be the Eorzean Reaper the boss sent word about. I pat my chest, I think. Or no, I just say something to him. I'm almost disappointed to tell you nothing is amiss. The soldier in me would have loved to see a Reaper in action. I once fought in the Imperial Army, though you wouldn't think it to look at me now. I served proudly under Lord Valens in my youth, until the day he ordered us to use common folk as fodder in some pointless skirmish. I refused and was sentenced to death for my candor. Needless to say, I didn't keep that appointment. Compared to that evil, toothless threats and ghosts are no bother. But the less jaded are more excitable. One lass in particular has been jumping at shadows. She claims to have seen all manner of terrors, but I suspect she'd be startled by her own reflection. Still, if you want to lend an ear to her delusions, you can find her in Lost Hope. We fly northeast. One more kind of tent camp. An elegant woman. Inspecting some cargo. Oh, hello. Who are you? I explain what I'm doing, who I am. Oh, did Drusilla receive my missive? She sent someone to rid us of this terrible evil waiting in the wings? Truly she cares for us as if we really were her flesh and blood, which is more than I can say about my own. Not once have I longed to return to the life of comfort I left behind in Garlean, and I have Drusilla to thank for that. She isn't the reason I left home in the first place, of course. Had I not met my beloved, I would likely still be feasting on lemon cakes in ignorance. In ignorance of love, of freedom, I found the former in Garlean, and the latter in Eorzea, as our new life blossomed into something beautiful. Not every day has been easy, not even most days, but Drusilla's watchful eye has kept us safe, and our freedom is worth any measure of hardship. Such terrible fear gripped my heart when my beloved told me of the pale man he spied on the sands, but now that the family has come to help, I can breathe a sigh of relief. I'm sure you wish to know precisely where to find that horrid creature, but I cannot help half so well as my beloved might. Seek him in the southeast, and pray put an end to this nightmare. We fly southeast in our flying saucer. I love this map. It's awesome. We talk to a lithe dandy leaning against a tree. cutscene. It's got a green tunic, brown pants, green all the way around hat thing. Through deviled mist the hunter doth now tread, tracking the scent of quarry others dread. In darkest night cry for a keeper, lo by your side she walks, the reaper. I tilt my head at him. Like, what? Apologies for the effusive display, friend. I'm a poet, you see, and cannot resist putting into words the flood of emotions that accompany such a striking figure as yours. His eyes are amber. Now he's looking in terror to his left, and I look as well. And he's panicking. There's like this upright dog figure, but all we kind of see is like the red, like if your skin was kind of stripped away, you'd see the red muscle, or whatever color, but this is red muscle. We see some bone kind of plating here and there, glowing eyes, no lower jaw, or like it's kind of got this weird shit, and it's got ram horns curved coming out the top and coming all the way curved back to the back of the head. Monster! He says. Grrrr, says the blood-supped void-scent. Starts to walk toward us. The bloodlust emanating from this void-scent is potent and powerful. Okay. And I flourish my weapon, and we go to attack. Hey, bud. Bye, bud. Pegasus is joining us. I don't need him, but I love him. And he's down. We talk to the lithe dandy to continue. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my savior, my godsend. Would that I could have aided you, but alas, a poet's pen is of little use in battle. Unless, of course, that battle involves not swords and scythes, but words. Just ask the sire of my beloved, who is even now licking the wounds dealt by the invective verse I composed after he had the gall to forbid our union. A masterwork of scathing metaphor and subtle remonstration. Alas, for all their pretensions, nobles are anything but subtle in their rage. We were forced to flee, to abandon our homes with only our love for sustenance. Nevertheless, I've regretted not a single moment of our life in exile. In Eorzea we found an unexpected treasure. Freedom. Freedom of mind and freedom of heart. Ah, but I digress. Surely you did not seek me out simply to save my life and leave with a nod and a smile. Did you wish to commission a poem? I tell him why I was here. The Pale Man? I encountered him whilst wandering these arid wastes in search of inspiration. I felt the gaze of some terrible presence upon my back, and when I turned to meet it, he was standing there, grinning like a butcher in a bullpen. He wore robes much too thick for these scorched sands, and his skin looked as if it had never been kissed by the blazing sun. Worst of all, his eyes were as two bottomless pools of blood. I feared my end had come, but then he vanished as quickly as he had appeared. Perhaps I've been reckless. Recent incidents make it clear that the cost of inspiration is higher than I'm willing to pay. I shall return to my beloved for both my safety and hers. Thank you again, my savior. Okay. We fly southwest. I probably can't fly above this. Yeah, they capped. Oh, okay, we're good. Just barely. They capped the flying height in these starter zones, like, really low. So we're going to a slightly further away portion of the tents of Stone's Throw. We talked to Drusilla to continue. Cutscene. Damn it, hold on. simply a package, and for some reason Amazon continues to ring the doorbell, and they never did anywhere else I've lived. I don't understand it. There you are. And? I forgot her voice already. I explain what I've learned and talked to and whatever. She crosses her arms. Another one of his accursed minions. Well, I suppose we can take comfort in the fact that none of the family came to harm, yourself included. Well done. Speaking of which, what do you think of this family you've been thrust into? Speak freely. I haven't lived this long by taking offense at opinions I don't want to hear. My options are, I'm surprised you've all survived this long. Seems like any other family to me. Doesn't matter what I think, does it? Seems like any other family to me. Ha! Seen some odd families then, I reckon. I'd like to think we're one of a kind, though. A collection of cast-offs unfit to live under the Empire's boot. Yours truly included. Much as some enlightened types might tell you otherwise, people like to have a say in the life they lead. That's what separates us from those bugs over there. She looks over at the flying hornets. Born queens, workers, drones, bred into roles ingrained so deeply they wouldn't know how to live otherwise, for the glory and prosperity of the hive. But we've got it in us to be different. Might be born into farming, soldiering, or potlicking, or politicking. That makes way more sense. Politicking, like politics. But we can choose to walk a different path whenever the fancy should strike. Taint in our nature to accept our lot without question. No, we have to believe in something, put our faith in it. Only then will we deign to march in step. And indeed, faith of a savage stripe is one way to get us dancing to the same tune. Faith of a savage stripe. Others might be compelled through faith in logic or law, intangible, invisible, yet cause enough for killing and conquering if it suits the queen. Her eyes are purple. Never noticed that until now. We get like a flashback of one of the Asians who's, there were so many. This one's kind of like the guy who's like the jester. I always kind of felt like he was kind of a jester type. He's got the black and red and white, and it's multicolored, and he's got the little white shock of hair. The invader, and standing in front of a throne with a bunch of Garlean soldiers down below. The invaders have sullied our birthright for 8 centuries. No longer. We march for Locus Amoenus. With a few righteous words, his radiant solus sos Galvus whipped the hive into a frenzy. Once that fire is burning, the passion of the masses can't soon be quelled. What was once a wish for home became a holy mission to spread enlightenment which would not suffer such beliefs as the beastmen held. We get a close-up of him. Countless scores rendered up their lives on the altar of empire until an entire continent was united under a single magitek fist. For those who still dream the dream of unity, a deed worthy of song. Yet some awoke to see it for the tyranny it was, my grandfather Rulus included. The talents of the Reapers are passed down through bloodlines. Rulus was the best of us, the most accomplished and feared in the Order's long history. The duty of the Reapers, our role in the hive, if you will, was to deliver our countrymen from corrupt and power-hungry tyrants. When Garlean found religion and conquest, its appetite grew to be insatiable. My grandfather pondered this conundrum for many sleepless nights and came to a decision. He would relieve Solus Zos Galvus of his life. I take a half step back, shocked. We see a flashback of her family member stalking in the shadows behind the emperor, or the Asian posing as whatever. 20 years ago, he slipped into the deepest chambers of the imperial palace, silent as a shadow, until he could hear the emperor's beating heart. Yet when Rulus returned to me, Solus was alive and well. My grandfather, on the other hand, had a skittishness to his step, and his black hair had turned a pale white. And we see a flash of 2 Reapers, one hand down, one knee down, male, one female, standing in front of him. He said naught of his encounter with the Emperor, save that the most powerful man in Garlemald was no man at all. Yeah. Shamed in his defeat, my grandfather sought greater power. Bit by bit, he gave more of himself over to the void sent behind his avatar. And now we have the younger looking man that we saw on the bridge. Orcus struck when Rulus was weakest, taking his flesh and soul in one fell swoop. When he was finished, not a mote of my grandfather remained in that body. There was only Orcus. The fiend flew into a rapturous frenzy, and my family were his first victims. I remember the chill of his teeth sinking into my flesh, gnawing until they reached my very essence. How am I standing here before you then? Oh, Orcus gorged on his soul that night, but it wasn't mine. Not exactly. It was my avatar that filled his belly. Seems that was all he could stomach. Some might consider that a lucky twist of fate, but I had little time to ponder my fortune. Fled soon as I was able. His radiance never looked kindly on those trying to end his life, or their families. I wandered about for years until I settled here and started seeking out others like me, others who had awoken from the Empire's dream. Lemures is what we call the spirits of the dead in the Garlean tongue, a fitting moniker if there ever was one. Waking up from a long sleep ain't unlike climbing out of the grave. I can attest to that. Son of a bleeding, remind me not to give such long-winded speeches when the sand is blowing in my face. I'm heading back for some ale. See you at headquarters. And she walks away, and the cutscene fades in the rain. Fades in the rain. I'm trying to remember. Gustaberg in Final Fantasy XI is probably the closest resemblance to Thanalan, but none of the three starting areas in 11 were, well, no, Gustaberg. At least one of the zones was on the ocean, but Ron Fair in off of Sandoria, that was all surrounded by mountains. It was like grass and forest. And Savannah, what was it called? Oh my god, Windurst. I wanted to say Savannah, but the zones outside of Windurst were kind of Savannah-like. What was that called? There's Saruda Baruda, but actually that might be a person's name. I don't remember. Anyway, I was trying to, for some reason, I was kind of listening to the music briefly while we were teleporting in Thanalan, kind of seeing if it compared to anything I remembered from 11. I got a huge urge to play 11 again, just start over and enjoy, but it is such a grind in places. Like, you think this game is a grind, just... I mean, there was actually some very, very good power leveling opportunities in that game. Oh, sorry, we enter and we have a cutscene. Welcome back, boss. How's the family? Says Hermine, right? Shaken, but unharmed aside from some tousled hair and mangled verse. Orcus left one of his minions behind as a gift, but Mercy made quick work of it. Herminia. I always said she was a keeper. You have an eye for the fierce of heart. I wager she could slay Orcus all on her own. Not that we let her take all the glory. She does a fist in palm again. She's kind of got like anime eyes. They're big, brown. Of course we wouldn't. We'll all be there when Orcus tries to take his prize. I don't think we'll be waiting long either. Just 2 more levels, but I already have them. Orcus said he'd strike when Mercy was ripe with fear and hatred and despair. Seasonings he's loath to forgo. I'm just gonna grab this as my thumbnail in case I don't find something better. I have an inkling how we might try and draw out those emotions and finish off a half-eaten meal besides. The camera zooms in on her and... Right you are, Drusilla. He portals into our headquarters, freaking us all out. He hovers Drusilla, kind of binding her in a dark purple magic. She grits her teeth. How many nights did you mourn your lost avatar, the wellspring of your power? I must say it was quite the dish. I whip out my scythe and Hermine, her blade, her dagger. Ah, I think not. Move so much as a finger and her head will hit the floor. He's got like her scythe, I believe, held in his magic at her throat, more or less. He hovers nearby. Ooh, that's it, Mercy. That fire. I want to see it burn. I want to see it rage. I want to see the hatred seep into the depths of your soul. Shall I make this Drusilla's final breath? Or this one? It is so very hard to choose. Kind of a stalemate, staring contest between all of us. I was right not to give in to my baser instincts, to allow the thought of your taste to simmer in my mind. To simmer in my mind as you and Drusilla formed a bond, kinship even, born from an understanding of her inconsequential ideals, that you may better appreciate the bitter loss. He has a claw in front of his face for a couple seconds. But perhaps I should wait a while longer to let the flavor of your hatred mature and the tang of your malice ripen. I can make use of Drusilla yet, revel in her screams, exult in her misery. Ah, how splendid it will be. All the while my prized piglet growing fat with loathing and succulent with terror. Patience rewards the dutiful gourmand, after all. When your tantalizing flavor has fully matured, I shall return, and I shall reap my harvest. He portals the both of them away. But is that her scythe that remains behind? I'm hating this headgear more and more as I look at it. I gotta fix it after this. We talked to Hermine to finish the quest. God's damned void-sent bastard! Soulless piece of shite! My options are we need to thank Hermine, or swive that sodding demon spawn, or Orcus is going to pay for this. Swive that sodding demon spawn! Fist and palm. I was just joining her. Aye, that's the spirit. Yeah, knew you'd like that. Right, we need a plan. First things first, find out where Orcus is hiding. The rest of the family should be able to help with that. In the meantime, you need to prepare. I know you're good, Mercy, but we can't leave the boss's life to chance. Sharpen your skills and your scythe, and sharpen them once more. The boss can do naught against Orcus without her avatar. That means you'll have to do the heavy lifting. Of course, I'll do what I can to afford you an advantage. You can count on that. For Drusilla! I nod. 227,520 experience points, 1860 gil. Level 80 quest coming up soon. In the meantime, Hermine and I thank you for watching. We hope you have enjoyed. I gotta turn a bit here. We hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you soon for the next one. Why do you guys always have to look not in the camera? You're ruining my werve.